Oh, yeah. Business just picked up on the Brian Campbell YouTube channel. Yes. I'm talking about the hot take machine, the boxing entertainer. You may have seen him on DAZN. You may have seen him crushing it on YouTube. Hey, ShowBizz The Adult. Thank you, brother, for giving me some time. How the hell are you?
What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz The Adult. All right, man, look. I'm doing great, brother. I'm having a great time. Business is in a good spot, and boxing is in a better spot, man. So everything's doing great.
Wow. I appreciate bringing the sound effects, bringing the caffeinated energy. Indeed, right there. Biz, I got to say something to you that I know is not true. Meaning, upon further review, I could see you've done the work. You've been grinding a long time. But from my point of view, there was a long time that I didn't know who ShowBizz The Adult was. Then you appeared. Then I'm like, damn, this guy's entertaining as hell. Oh, he has real takes too, like real ones. You got a new school energy with an old school vibe. But I'm like, is this the boxing's version of Bobby Altoff or the Hawk Tua girl? You just appeared fully formed in my purview. So first of all, congratulations on your success. You're doing alternate pay-per-view streams on DAZN. You're killing it with the subscriptions on YouTube. But address that situation for people that haven't been following your journey. It literally felt like you dropped from the sky like Fan Man and Bo Holyfield too.
Yeah.
Now you're here to stay. So congratulations on that.
Hold on. Wait a minute. That was one of the most bizarre things to ever happen in a sport of boxing. With a fan man, because they showed him going across the sky forever. You didn't think the guy was going to land in the arena, right?
And they beat the shit out of him. I mean, the living
I remember cell phones, batteries were flying out. But anywho, how this all happened. Really, yeah, the entertaining side is just a natural thing. You know, I'm just naturally entertaining. But boxing is a real passion of mine. You know, I've been watching boxing since I remember the first fight I've ever watched. It was Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Ham Show. I was like 4 years old, right? And because Marvelous Marvin Hagler, he appealed to me as boxing himself, boxing personified. I only knew boxing because it looked like him, bald head, purple trunks, high socks, right? So boxing has been a thing, and my parents, they were into boxing with Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, and all those things. My granddad was watching boxing, but so boxing has been in our like a major sport and a major topic in our family for ages. So that's why I know the history so much. I used to sit there and just listen to them talk about boxing all day long. I try to box myself. Me and my brothers were very physical in the house, right? I mean, doing push-ups, training, watching Rocky movies. It was insanity. But the fun part of it is just me kind of reflecting how we consumed boxing when we watched it in our house. It was never angry. We're always laughing. We're always doing push-ups, making bets, right? Eating ribs and throwing punches at each other. Like it was always a good time.
It's crazy because this is literally the most serious sport there is that probably unfortunately has the most total deaths and people know the price tag coming in.
Yeah.
But yet it's the most ridiculous sport by far ever. I mean, if you can spend a day on boxing Twitter, you can see that we're not dealing with normal life here.
No, I mean, it's not normal. It's not normal to want to get punched. Number one, forget wanting to harm someone else. And I mean, the nature of boxing is to hit someone so hard that their body cannot function enough within 10 seconds. So it's a violent idea to begin with, right? I'm trying to damage you at least for 10 seconds long. And that's a lot of time for somebody to not have control of their bodies. And then when they do, they have to be able to get themselves back online well enough, not only to survive, but do the same to his op or her op. So the nature of it is so barbaric, and which is why it is our nature. It is the sweet science. It's the oldest thing in the world. It's the most violent, but for some reason, I may be cuckoo, it is the most fun and hilarious.
I can't get away from it. Yes.
Right.
Well, look, I mean, you know, it's clear you've had a great knowledge and a fandom throughout your life coming from your family, which is always the best part. You know, I had a grandfather that was the same way. No cartoons in my living room. We're watching boxing, and you absorb that over time. But I gotta assume with your charisma that you come from entertainment in some form. I mean, are you as surprised? I don't want to say as I am, but because I didn't know you until you appeared on the scene, but like you're making moves quick in a wild time for boxing. Was this always the plan, or is this a side hustle that just won't stop winning for you?
Yeah, it may be more number 2 than number 1. I mean, what it is, I came from rapping. That's why I kept my rapping name, ShowBizz The Adult. All right.
Yeah.
So my rap name. And I almost was signed twice. I dodged a bullet once. I almost got signed to Bad Boy. And then the second time I was almost signed to Jive Records. So I wanted to rap. That was my thing. But even before that, I wanted to be an actor / comedian. So the entertainment side of that's a natural thing I have. But my passion is boxing. But I was trying to give one last go at rap. And it was my wife who said, you are a better personality than rapper. So I turned on the camera and I said, well, let me do some personality stuff. But what am I going to talk about? What I love most, boxing. And it just took off.
By the way, there's a lesson in there from the movie White Man Can't Jump. Listen to the woman. Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
All right?
Listen to the one.
The Stookie Brothers. Right. Yes. So this, I'm going to assume, like a lot of us, you're doing a YouTube content thing on the side. You're getting into the sport. How did it go from I'm building this success, I'm getting an audience, I'm finding my lane in this sport, to where you are now? And I'm sure you have plans that go beyond that. I mean, dude, I go to buy a pay-per-view on DAZN. It's like, you want the ShowBizz The Adult version? You say what, DAZN? What? This is incredible.
Look, I think what happened was when I start kind of going, and it didn't take long, but when I first started going, I asked myself, then what I'm going to do here? Am I just going to talk shit about boxing? What am I doing here? So I drew up what my plan would be. And I started with my mission statement. And my mission statement was to help make boxing the #1 sport in the world again. Ooh. Because I had to look when I went to the bookstore and I looked at sports, boxing was like 3 books in a corner, and it was Tyson. That's it. What happened to Jack Dempsey books or Henry Armstrong books? Or what if I want to know about Gene Tunney or Harry Greb? No, it's Ali Tyson. And that discouraged me so much because I love boxing so much. In the 80s and the 90s, boxing was just super lit. So I said, how can I do this and help contribute? Definitely can't do it by yourself, but help contribute to help make boxing the #1 sport in the world again. So I got extremely serious about it. And I knew the #1 thing, in my opinion, was boxing was going the wrong way. And I thought it was because of Floyd Mayweather and his impact, not him, but his impact on the money, on being a business-minded fighter and being undefeated. And I said, everybody wants to stay undefeated. We're not going to get the matchups.
That's a great point.
That was my #1 goal. My #1 goal was to stop having fans to say, and disrespect fighters once they lose. Because if that happens, you're going to discourage the fighter for trying to put on the matchups, what is going to ultimately kill boxing completely. So that was my first step.
I mean, I love that sort of mission statement in here, and it aligns perfectly with your growth, with what you talked about off the top. What I talk about every time I'm in front of a microphone, what I'm sure you do, is that boxing is in the craziest place that we ever could have imagined at this time right now. And obviously, the big elephant in the room is Saudi Arabia and Turki Alalsheikh, and it's certainly a lot more good than bad when you take in totality in terms of people who are nervous about the association here. Right now, we're literally at a point where any single fight can be made. And that's like the most intoxicating feeling. I mean, we have a man who is almost a de facto commissioner. If you take all the things Turki's saying and the rumors you hear and the plan that we think he has, yet he wants to match fighters like he's playing fantasy football or video games. We're not used to that in this sport. This is crazy, man.
Because what you have is a guy who is trying to make the fights that he wants to see. Yes. If you listen to Turki, listen to what he says. He says, I want to see AJ versus. He just said it. He just said it on his X. I want to see Joshua and Wilder. I want to see. So he's a kid in a candy store who, you know, they just threw the doors open and said, hey, what kind of candy packages do you want to put together? He's like, oh shit. And he is reflecting the boxing fan. And like I said, with you and I, how we came up, what we miss about it. The thing is, the talent is there. Now, I mean, maybe not in the heavyweight division, so to speak, but not like it was in the 90s and the 70s.
Sure.
But the talent is there, but the knowledge isn't. You didn't know how good Bacoli was. You don't know, how good Nick Ball is. Who the hell is Nick Ball? Like, you don't know. So what you have to do is somebody had to put the money together to be willing to lose it, to invest in it, to put these matchups together so you can at least identify, oh, I've seen that guy before, I want to see him again. It's about knowledge. And then once that happens, you can start building. But I just cannot believe that we're in a place, dare I say it, where I can stop complaining.
I know. That was a part of our daily sustenance, was complaining that fighter A's never going to fight fighter B. So stop talking about it, you casual. Now it's like, I never even gave birth, ShowBizz, to a thought of Bud Crawford versus Tank Davis. And in the last 48 hours, I'm finding out that, one of them might be dating a lady with a little cushion, but that's inappropriate for me to even bring up. I'm like, why don't they fight? It's possible. Hey, Turki, call them up, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, the thing about Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, I had to check myself because, we weren't getting those fights. But on top of that, I was kind of dissing it. I was kind of like, who wants to see that? Canelo's 168. This guy is an older guy. I'm thinking he's at the twilight of his career. He was at 147. He beat the hell out of Errol Spence. But I'm just saying, to make that leap to one of the greatest fighters ever at 168, who wants to see that until it starts to kind of materialize? And then I had to check myself. Wait a minute. Sugar Ray Leonard was at welterweight. He was gone for practically 5 years. He only came back for one fight against, what was his name?
Thomas Howard.
Kevin.
Howard was his last name.
There you
Kevin
go.
Or Thomas.
He
was in Worcester, Mass, and he got dropped.
He got dropped. He had a Jerry curl. It was like, what the hell? And he was gone for 5 years. Comes back, first fight back. He fights Marvelous Marvin Hagler at middleweight, and we're all excited about it. So wait a minute. I'm talking about the great Sam Langford. I'm talking about the great Harry Greb doing amazing things. Henry Armstrong jumping up 3-way. And I have a problem with Terrence Crawford, one of the greatest fighters I've ever witnessed in my life, doing that against Canelo, a guy that he has a longer reach than, a guy that he's a little taller than. Then what? Let's go. Put the fight on. It's nothing but excitement here. Why would we try to dumb down something that everybody's super excited about? Let's build it. So, fantastic stuff.
So many times in the last 10, 15 years trying to inform the casual boxing fans in our life, our friends, of why these fights can't happen, why, stop talking. That is just gone now. So I'm got to be like you. The next 6 to 8 months are going to decide the future of this business in such an aggressive way. And it's like, I don't really know. You hear the New York Times reports. You feel like there could be a league. Dana White's getting involved. Are we buying DAZN, Saudi Arabia? What the hell is happening here? Do you think we're getting very soon, if not already there, where you're either with Turki or you're against him in terms of being involved in what matters? I guess it's comparable to MMA, where even though the UFC has competitors that have a little bit of life, dude, you're either in the octagon or you're not, more or less. Are we at that point in boxing, and will we benefit from that in your eyes?
Yeah, we're at a point in boxing where it'd be silly to not be with him. Okay. Because he making dream matchups happen. If you're somebody who wants to build a legacy, if you're somebody who wants to be proud of their own work, what would discourage you from going where the party is? All right. But the thing is, I think it's fantastic for boxing. The biggest issue has been egos. And has been these divisive things where it's like you have this promotion company, you have this promotion company, everybody want to make the money in-house and all those things, when really boxing needed to be an association within itself. It had to be a league. It had to be like the UFC. It had to be like the NFL. It had to be like the NBA. It had to be like so you had to have it all in one spot. So all these, we could have a tournament of some sorts, and there's nothing discouraging one fighter from fighting the other. Let me tell you how crazy it is and how aggressive and how fast it got here. When Boots turned down Ortiz for whatever reason he did, it was almost bizarre. Like ducking got normal. When Boots turned down Ortiz, people are like, what's the meaning behind it? It was like, because so many fights are happening, it's like, how that's almost the old school way. And that was only like 3 months ago. But it's like, yo, trying to catch up, Boots, because no one cares if you lose. Everyone's taking chances. Fight the fight, bro.
You know, it's funny. I take what Turki says seriously, and I have to say, I'm coming around to him. You know, was it easy for me to see him inducted into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame
that was rough.
On Californian soil? Maybe not, right? But what I'm saying is, like, the dude at the end of the day makes shit happen. And then I see tweets he put out. He put out one out the other day that basically said, hey, all of the boxers can talk, but at the end of the day, the fights will happen if we say it will, right? It's almost like it. So he's not only sending a message to his competitors that if you don't want to get on board, you could be on the outside looking in. He's challenging the fighters in a way that we haven't seen in a while. Now, obviously, there's a long history of fighter and promoter being at odds, and we see that today. We see it with Teofimo Lopez right now with Top Rank.
Yeah.
But I mean, somebody in power holding the purse strings being like, no. You don't want this, then go, because I got somebody else waiting in line. I mean, one of the biggest criticisms I have of Turki, it just shows his aggressiveness, is he's already lining up future fights before one fight even happens.
That's right.
But at the same time, it really aligns with some of the really smart analysis I've seen you give, that Riyadh season is about getting in that truth-telling machine, right?
Yeah,
Riyadh season,
find out season, bro.
Like, I thought that was some of the smartest takes I heard in a long time. But like, do you think there's pressure on these fighters now, even though what comes with that is career high paydays and huge opportunities here?
Well, there's pressure on the fighters from one standpoint, in my opinion. And I know what you're getting at, but I'm going to come from a bit of a different angle.
Sure.
There may be a little secret that is not so much of a secret. It's being spoken very loudly, that right now, boxing is over boxer, and boxing is going to survive well with or without you. Gervonta Tank Davis said, hey, I'll be gone. This is my last year. And when you look at how lit boxing has been lately, you're kind of all shoulders. You're kind of like, okay, there would be another fighter, bro. And it's not it's not the fighter, it's the matchups. We want to see certain matchups. So when His Excellency Turki Alalsheikh says something like, well, if you're not going to get on board, whatever, I got a whole line of different combinations of fights that I put together. You find out that it's not the boxer, it's boxing. And that can be a little threatening to the fighter who wants to hold their breath and say, listen, if you don't give me this, I won't fight. Then fine. Because I have so many different so many different matchups we can put together and get people excited to watch, because it's about the sweet science, the matchup, and the sport itself.
Dude, we're not used to that. We're just not used to that, right? No. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we've been through some alternate times. 2015, when PBC rolled out, things were different, but they kind of adjusted back into normalcy. So this is such an exciting time. I want to pivot for a second, though, back to you, because I think what stands out to me when I saw some of your stuff is, obviously, you know, you can transfer the charisma through the camera and get us fired up. You've got a comedic side. I see the music videos. It's all unbelievable gravy to me. But a fan wants to know and believe that you know your shit, that you're aggressive, you'll stand on your business, but that you're fair. And I see that in you. You'll call out a fighter's decision making. Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, he may hear about that, but you do it in a very fair way. Does that put you in the line of fire at all, or has it because, you know, we cover fighters for a living. They got sensitive egos. It's the truth. It really is, you know?
Yeah. Well, I've always put boxing over boxer, and I didn't know if that was going to harm my brand or not. But one thing is, I can't lie to myself, bro. The biggest thing is I can't lie to myself. I would know that I'm making a take to try to get to a certain narrative, and that doesn't sit right with me. So I just gotta keep it real across, the entire sport. The thing is, there have been fighters who didn't like what I said, but in the long run, they have looked back and been, I've been blocked and then unblocked. Right?
Oh,
Okay, I think I get what he was saying, because you're kind of used to how things have been before. Certain content creators are for certain type of promotion companies or certain type of boxers. So then when you see me, you can't help. I don't blame them. You can't help but assume that I would be like that. But the thing about me is, it doesn't benefit a boxing fan. It doesn't benefit the boxer. It doesn't benefit the business for you to cap and lie and try to push a narrative for one over the other, and try to avoid the truth. All that does is hurt the sport of boxing. So listen, man, you got to keep it real. And another thing, I used to be biased back before I had my own content. I used to be, when I was like a teenager and stuff like that. And what I did, the knockout of Tarver over Roy Jones, who was my favorite fighter.
sure.
I totally didn't like Tarver. And all Tarver did was stand up for himself and prove to himself and the world that he was better than Roy, at least right then. And if I can't appreciate that, what the hell am I watching the sport for? So after I checked myself on that, it changed me forever. It changed me forever. Really, win or lose, good or bad, as long as it was a good fight, I win as a fan. So give us the good fights. Give us the great matchups. That's it. And the one who's doing it the most, in my opinion, is the best doing it. Win, lose, or draw. Who's ever doing that the most is the best one.
All right, hold that. I had a very similar fandom realization when I'm like, man, I've been hating on Lennox Lewis for far too many decades just because he beat all my heroes and he's got a sissy voice from England. And I felt like I was doing that to any Australian or Brit that came by. I'm like, oh, you ain't the real. Go to Las Vegas, fight an African-American. You'll find out. But yeah, we all come back to understanding. But you mentioned putting sport over fighter and embracing and endorsing the fighters that do that, the guys that stand on business, meaning, look, there's a responsibility when you get to the level where Floyd was, where Canelo still is, when you are arguably the most popular fighter in the sport and arguably the best fighter in the sport, you have a level of control that boxing pre-Turkey doesn't have rules in place to stop you from using that leverage. I think that's why, even though we respect what Floyd did, it's why somebody printed a shirt with him and Berto, because he had that matchmaking control. It's why we used to love Canelo until suddenly he waited out Triple G for a year and a half, but then we forgave him. And then we used to love him, and now he won't fight Benavidez. As controversial as it is for me to say, and some of my podcast listeners are like, dude, stop backing this guy. Would you agree with me that the one guy right now who seems to want what the fans want just as much as his own selfish desires is Ryan Garcia? This dude wants all smoke all the time. My favorite fighter of all time is Oscar De La Hoya. It's not for the fishnets, Biz. It's because he always tried to make the biggest and toughest matchup available, whether he could have gotten up against B-Hop or not, right?
Right.
Dude, Rye Guy, yeah, he might drop the N-word. He might make me write columns saying you got to put him in a straitjacket. But, dude, when it's time to sign up for a fight, he's like, what's the gnarliest matchup I can make? Right. That's becoming contagious for young American boxers, and I got to shout that dude out for that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he set a standard, and I think okay, here's my take on why he's like that. Because he was completely shitted on. Yeah. When he came out and he was doing the whole, the social media thing, and he kind of grew his brand in a very in a way that you've never seen before. All right. And he became like, he was this influence, and people were seeing him as a content creator and not a fighter. So it got to a point, no matter what he did, people just shitted on it. And that goes to this idea, is that you got to crash out. You got to hit rock bottom. So Ryan Garcia got to a point, saying N-bombs and all those. I mean, he just didn't care.
Oh my God, Caleb Plant's wife, he went hard in the paint right there.
Right. So when no matter what, you're seen as soft and weak and fake, then who cares? And that kind of taught people things. you got to hit rock bottom. You got to take a loss. You got to get some dirt on you, some mud on you, because Ryan Garcia is not going to go undefeated for the rest of his career. He's going to lose. AJ, when you start looking at AJ's career overall, been knocked out, Rock knocked somebody down. When you look at AJ, boy, he brought some excitement though.
Hell yeah, and balls.
So
I brought some balls to the table. Yeah.
So Ryan Garcia is going to be likable in that way. There's a reason why we all loved Gotti. There's a reason why, like you said, Oscar De La Hoya losing, he'll beat Ike Cortez, he'll lose to Shane Mosley, he'll lose to B-Hop, he'll fight. I mean, the guy, Chavez, Sweet Pea, Whitaker, you know, you start loving this guy for bringing us the fights. Pacquiao was the same way. Yeah. So you find out once again that it's not about being undefeated. It's about making the fans happy. And what makes the fans happy is having anxiety about the fight that they're going to watch. I don't want to go into a fight knowing who's going to win. I want to have anxiety. And Ryan Garcia is bringing that anxiety. We don't know who he's going to fight next, but I'm getting, but we're going to have anxiety with the matchups, and that's going to make him a fan favorite amongst.
I love that take. I love the way you present that. And oh, by the way, I hear Barrios at 47 for the title. I hear Teo. I hear a lot of things.
Yeah, that's right.
But I wonder, because, you know, on the show I do Morning Combat, we looked at, you know, what are the 3 wish list fights you want for this year? And my number 2 was Ryan Garcia versus Teo. It's crazy on crazy. It's exciting as hell. I almost feel like those two are alternately trying to one-up each other. Listen to how I'm phrasing this. Okay. Teo played us when he stood in the ring after the Sandor Martin fight and was like, oh, do I still got it? He played us when he milked that Kriegel interview before the Josh Taylor fight, and he actually got me to write that story for CBS Sports. Hey, Bob Arum, I think you should check this guy's mentals a little closer. I feel like Ryan copied that blueprint against Haney, and now I feel like Teo is going, wait, you kind of stole my gimmick. Now I'm going to come out and be crazy too, and look what he's trying to do to separate from Top Rank, or at least bump himself up business-wise. I feel like the only way to settle this is in the ring right there, but I feel like Teo laid some of this groundwork out, though.
Dude, that's a good take, man. Teofimo Lopez, and it's so sad, but Teofimo Lopez was the one. He was the first one over that hill, so to speak, right? I mean, he's fighting Lomachenko super young.
Oh, when his dad is accosting Loma in the locker and be like, my son's going to kick your ass. It's like,
yeah,
dude.
And my thing about Teofimo Lopez is, and I'm talking about taking chances, Richard Coleman going up to 140, looking bad, looking great. But my thing about Teofimo Lopez is he's kind of, what he's achieved has kind of been forgotten a bit. So I get what you're saying, because in my opinion, I don't know if you agree with me on this. In my opinion, he was undisputed. I know the franchise title, it was quote unquote not a real title. He beat the man though. Lomachenko was the champion, right? He was the real champion who beat the guy who beat it. That was the champion, and they upgraded him to franchise title, just like they did with Floyd Mayweather WBA when Keith one time Thurman was his mandatory, and they upgraded him to Super WBA champion. Same thing.
Convenient, by the way.
Yeah, very convenient. Because look at your shirt. That's how convenient it was.
High stakes, my ass, right here. All right, here's that harvest, Berto. Is it still coming? Right. Come on. You know?
And no one didn't call Floyd Mayweather the champion. Lomachenko was the champion. He was upgraded to a super title. So the things that Teofimo Lopez achieved, and he did those things first. I can see what you mean. With Teo, it's like, hold on, man, I'm the originator. Right? Yes. I'm the originator of all this. So yeah, to get him back in the ring with Ryan, or get him in the ring with Ryan, and for them to hash that little undercurrent of a conversation out, I would be extremely excited to see that. And
I saw reporting that you probably saw too from Lance Pugmire of Boxing Scene, saying Turki might be looking to put both of those guys in the same card. I'm sorry, both of those guys, meaning Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, on the same card in May to hype a rematch. And put the fights in Times Square, like literally in Times Square. Like, I mean, you got to have a lot of cashola and you know, leverage to make something like that happen. It reminds me of when the one Canelo versus Floyd, one of the greatest pay-per-view builds that I'll ever remember. Remember, they did that press conference right in the middle of Times Square too. Mm-hmm. If we're getting back to doing shit like this, Bizz, then our sport's going to have a little respect again. I mean, I always say, don't try to put too much lipstick on this pig. And I know everybody was tuning into the ring gala and all this ring awards dinner, looking to fine comb, make fun of things. Yeah. But I'm like, they also kind of classed up this pig, and now I want to be right. Now I want people to know that I F with this pig. All right.
Right. We're totally excited about all of this. And like you said, you got to have the power to do it, because honestly, there's going to be money's lost. You're just starting this business, right? Pretty much. And you're going to lose money at the beginning. And I'm talking about tons of it, but it's worth it. So you can build this brand, especially the Hall of Fame Turki Alalsheikh Save Boxing Superman brand, right? But on top of that, like you're saying about that subject specifically with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney on the same card, that's going to steal the show in the press conferences, right? Like, I mean, they're going to be talking shit back and forth, and I want to know who's going to be the co-main, right? If they're not who's going to be the main, who's going to be co-main? I think it's going to be on Cinco de Mayo with Canelo, but if Ryan Garcia beats him to the co-main, he's going to be talking junk there. They're going to be comparing their ops. If Ryan Garcia is fighting Teofimo Lopez while Devin Haney is fighting, they're going to, which Devin Haney needs a soft touch. I'm sorry. He needs a soft touch. He needs a.
You've been ahead of the game on having great Haney takes, and I think we can all agree that he's handled the fallout of the Garcia fight as poorly as possible. Even though I sympathize with his situation, but I think it was a take I may have heard you say first. It's like they also have to point back at themselves for allowing that fight to still go on without too much penalty for what have you. I don't love the lawsuit. I don't love all that. I've been saying since day one, I'm sure you've been saying the same thing, that in this sport, the only way to truly redeem yourself from a fight like that, even a fight where people aren't giving Haney the respect he deserves for getting up, like Broner against Maidana, for fighting back and staying the course.
Thank you.
The only way to win that back, to get that transaction, is to go back in the ring and do what people thought you would. So I got to ask you this. And it's funny because the only interview I've seen Haney really do was that sit down with Andre Ward of All the Smoke fight. And even the legend Ward was like, so what's up with that left hook? Was it the speed? Did you not see it coming? I mean, Bizz, they had 6 amateur fights together. I got to believe that left hook helped Ryan win 3. Then I see some sparring footage from 5 years ago. Ryan's catching him with the hook. For somebody like Haney, who I had number 4 pound for pound, and I had a lot of respect for, how did this happen? It can't just be, I thought Ryan was crazy. I thought he had a beard. Like, how did he not pick up on the one tool that Ryan had?
Victory defeated Devin Haney. He won too much. And what I mean by that is he won in a way that he didn't identify. He had major flaws that we all didn't see at first, which I did mention against Kambosos. Like, man, he got the bow and arrow effect. He keep jabbing and pulling that right hand back, right? But he was fighting guys who couldn't take advantage of it. He was either bigger than them, they were older, or a combination of both. Not to diss what Devin Haney did. What I'm just saying is, how did we get here? He ended up fighting a guy, Ryan Garcia, who was his age and could match him physically. And I was very concerned. And I was very interested to see, how does he deal with somebody who can reach him, who can hurt him, and who's young with him. And sure enough, it showed. All the flaws just reared its ugly head. The funny thing is, Ryan Garcia, I believe, even though they went 3-3, I believe he felt that he was always better than Haney. Listen, when they weren't amateurs, a little bigger gloves, headgear, stuff like that. Things that he recovered from that Ryan Garcia probably feel you wouldn't recover from if we were in a pro fight. I think, and another thing is, Ryan is better than we thought. That's another thing.
That was going to be my next question to tee up. Like, he had no business being that good in that fight. Even with, he didn't even have 12-round stamina, right? Like, he was out of the club all week. But he really grew, or maybe broke, from the fallout of the Tank fight, where even his own promoter said he could have got up. And, easy, Oscar. We said the same thing about you and B-Hop. But, like, even his promoter was like, you could have got up and you didn't. For him to turn around and produce that performance, separate from the ridiculousness, which helped him, but how do you, I mean, that's why this sport is great, but I still can't believe what I saw. I still don't even know how this happened.
I can't believe how basic and savage and easy it seemed, because it was like Ryan didn't really have to put too much of a game plan together, when every time Ryan opened up, he dropped him. I mean, let the truth be told. Devin Haney, he was dropped 5 times. Okay, 3 times officially, but he got dropped 5 times. And to his credit, he got up 5 times, right? He had no business getting up 5. Somebody should throw it in the But with that said, every time Ryan even opened up, he hurt him. And it was savage. It seemed basic. Remember that one combination? They were just in the clinch and he just pop, 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 and Devin falls. It's like, yo, just physically, Ryan Garcia is difficult. And it didn't even look like he really trained specifically for Devin Haney or really put a game. So it just makes him, I'm sure, feel more confident in this rematch. What if I jab more? What if I throw the right hand more? What if I feint and throw a hook to the body? What if I start putting
body? Yeah, throw the body on that guy.
And don't forget the silly shell. Devin had no answer for it. He covered up, and Devin was like, "Oh, what?" Like he had a Rubik's cube. He was like, "What do I do with this?"
Normally, you try to f around and do the shell like Berto did against Guerrero in the first fight. You can go blind by accident. You know what I mean?
He had 2 slits, bro. His face. It was kind of funny.
It was. I love Berto. Great heart. But yeah, it happened. It was true.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Do you think that the Haney Garcia fight pushes back on the retort that a lot of people in the fight game who have had fighting experience like to push back on journalists? And I know you've had some fighting experience. You've trained in a few different disciplines. So I'm not trying to keyboard warrior your ass, but it's always like, oh man, the amateur history between them means nothing. The sparring history between them means nothing. You always hear that. Oh, that trash talk at that press conference means nothing. I've always pushed back and said this shit matters. And when I saw Ryan Garcia confidently do that to Haney, it's like, if they don't have those 6 fights in that sparring session, it might be a completely different story. He might walk into something. It's just wild how that matters.
Yeah, well, listen, okay, hold on. The keyboard warrior stuff, and we haven't been in pro fights and all that. We've been in enough challenges. We've been in street fights. We've been in, like you said, I've been in a few disciplines, but forget all that. Just as a common person, even if you haven't had a fight, you know everything matters. If it didn't, we wouldn't have stare downs at weigh-ins. We wouldn't have stare downs at press conferences. We wouldn't even have a damn press conference. They wouldn't be going back and forth on X. They wouldn't be doing all these things on social media. You wouldn't be putting up pics of your abs and the type of condition you're in if all this shit didn't matter. Everything matters, especially the experience you have. And I mean the little things. If you're close to somebody, and let's say Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, they hit the other with a body shot, and you heard that little, you just know, hey, remember I hit you with that body shot? Remember when Frank Martin was saying that with Gervonta Davis? Like, yeah, man, remember I cracked you? Everything means something, and sometimes it don't work to their benefit, right? Like with Frank Martin. Now Gervonta is like, oh, he thinks he cracked me. Now you just gave him a reason to really try to hurt you, because everything means something. So every fight they had, every sparring session they had, when they went to the circus together, I heard that they were friends when they were kids and they'd go to vacations together and stuff like that. Even that mattered. When Ryan and Devin looked at each other from across the ring, they saw each other at 9 years old, 10 years old. They remember everything that was said. When Devin pushed Ryan Garcia, he laughed at it. All those things mattered, bro. All of it mattered. And let me tell you, last April 20th is going to matter when they meet in the ring in October.
Oh, God, it's going to be such an affair. That is one of those that I wish. I know they're targeting it for Saudi. We can't have it all. God, I wish that was on American soil. I mean, Barclays, there is something I got to give. Look, I have an old school MSG protector, because Madison Square Garden, to me, growing up in Connecticut, whether you go there for the circus, a concert, a hockey game, whatever, it's elevated. It's the lights are brighter. It matters more. But Barclays has identified itself in 2 ways to me. 1, it only attracts real boxing fans, real ones. And 2, long before recreational marijuana was the thing, every person in that building's lighting up. So it's just contact high for the whole community there. But like, I love that even Tank is bringing Roach there rather than Houston, which made no sense. Barclays, when PBC kind of pulled out of that relationship, I think it kind of hurt. That place has to be populated on the regular, man. The real ones come out for that place.
Yeah. And the thing is so funny when you say the real ones and you associate that with what Ryan Garcia was seen as before and what Devin Haney is seen as now. If you
Yes.
want to go back to that lawsuit, okay, the last thing someone would consider Devin Haney after that lawsuit is a real one. All right, which is why he definitely should drop it. Which is it's like the locker room talk, right? Which after the game you have all these real athletes in there, and then that one who told on somebody's friend's wife that they were doing this in the club, he steps in the locker room and they're like, "You're not like us," right? Kendrick Lamar. So Devin Haney, he's going to have to show that he's a real one in many ways, bro. Because right now his rep is looking a little not.
He's got to stop him. He's got to stop him. You know, and Ryan's stoppable, dude. He can be hit. He's always been able to be hit. So,
and I think Ryan Garcia got rocked a little bit in that first fight. Remember when he yelled and he screamed? I think he felt a little something. Listen, Devin Haney is not just a walkover guy. I just think he miscalculated, you know, later in his career. He won too much in a way that he did. Listen, even in the Ryan Garcia, the first fight, when they said 112, he kind of was like, yeah, because in my opinion, he got away with one against Lomachenko. So even he was thinking, I may get away with another one, right? I mean, yeah.
Like, I'm not saying robbery or anything, but Loma won that fight. It just the judges thought differently. You know, that's it. That's it.
I watched that fight now.
All right, Bizz, I got to tie up a couple loose ends with you. We mentioned Tank earlier. I even see some weird rumors that Amazon signed him to a secret $200 million deal. That's why we don't see him in Riyadh season. I don't know if I believe that, but everyone has a price for the $1 million man, and even Big Red, even Canelo was like, "Okay, Turkey, I'll kiss the ring, I'll take the picture, we can hold hands together." Yeah. Will we see Tank in Riyadh season by the end of the year? Because Pitbull Cruz is a Turkey fighter now, even with his PBC connections. Morel and Benavidez both seem to be tight and have said publicly that they're going to work with him. Is Tank and by extension PBC going to end up being on their own island?
I think listen, I got to be careful with how I put this, but I think it behooves them to. But if they don't want to, they definitely going to have to treat, or I'm talking about the PBC, treat Gervonta Tank Davis how he really wants to be treated. Because I tell you this, the party bus is going that way.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is. And it's going to be very hard. Now, Gervonta, in my opinion, eyeball test, I can argue that he's the best fighter I've seen. Like today, eyeball test, I can argue that, but his body of work isn't showing it. Now, the party bus is going that way. It's going to be extremely hard for Gervonta to sit over here and keep saying, "I'm the best one." Brother, you can scream all you want. You could get on all the little X posts all you want. But I am looking over here where everybody's fighting each other to prove that they're the best. If you're the best, okay, you're the best alone, screaming that you're the best. So I think it behooves him and behooves them to make that happen, because you only got one life to live. You only got one boxing career, bro. You can't have this ego and be too proud.
I'm with you. It's a different era.
Add to your legacy, bro. Right now, you know where the wave is. Okay, let's get on that party bus.
And you don't want to be 35 when you're finally taking the biggest fights of your career. I mean, he can win everything back by taking one really hard fight, by fighting Shakur. Like, I got nothing against Frank Martin. I got nothing against a lot of his steps. I think in some degree it's been oversaid that he hasn't fought anybody, but I do believe that he's the PBC money man. So they're setting him up accordingly. But those days are over. I mean, I want PBC to survive, man. I want to be calling fights for them. I love the PBC world, but it's the Turkey world now. It is, man.
It is a Turkey world now. And what you said about, his resume, which, like I said, he does have a dangerous resume. There were some hard hitters. Pitbull, Rolly Romero. I mean, not a great but a hard hitter. I like Leo Santa Cruz on his resume. I really do. Like, there's a Mario
Draza, but Barrios.
That was fantastic. But what he doesn't have is enough of his peers. And let me tell you what I mean by that, because he does have Ryan Garcia. That's a peer. What I mean by that is, the Four Kings, Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, that's what I mean by peers. Wilfred Benitez, he was there. Pepino Cuevas, he was there. Lexus Hardware. But I'm just saying, who your peers are, right? You know who they are. And it's so funny, out of those guys, it's Ryan Garcia, back to him, who, if he fights Teofimo Lopez, he has fought his peers, right? The
Four Kings fought each other 9 times in 10 years. We have the 5 princes, as Karen Mulvaney called them, which is, the 4 plus Shakur of this young group. They've only fought each other twice, and Ryan's been in both. So it's
you see what I'm saying? You see what's going on here, brother? You see what's going on here? He knows no matter what, Gervonta, you know who your group is. You know who your boys are. You know who your ops are. And that's Ryan, Shakur, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and you haven't fought any of them. It's going to be very hard to retire and go on and say, yeah, I was the best one. Brother, we don't know. You only fought Ryan. You did fight Ryan. But even with Ryan, there were 2 stipulations. It's like, people don't believe it. So here's the thing, man. He has to get on that party bus. He has to get on the party bus.
He wants 150 M's. Maybe he'll take less. We'll see. All right, 2 quick ones on the way out here. If we would have talked a year ago, I would have done my 4 princes speech, 5 princes, whatever we're calling them, about these young guys. But I would have said, look, I love them all. I want to see them all fight. But last man standing in my heart, who do I think will be the pound for pound king out of all of them? I would have said Shakur, and I still might, even though he's had some bad PR, some of it caused by himself. But this group of young breakout stars in and around the 135, 140, and now moving up to 147 window, dude, Keyshawn Davis is kind of coming on in a way where it's almost as if Top Rank has just replaced, Shakur with him. If I'm going to tell you that of this young group, Shakur might be the last one standing who beats them all, is Keyshawn on that level too? Because I can't figure it out, but he looks really good early.
Keyshawn is on that level. And let me tell you something about Keyshawn Davis that concerns me for the rest of the group, not for Keyshawn. Keyshawn thinks he's better than the rest of them. He truly is convinced himself, even if he's not really ready, doesn't have all the experience yet. He thinks he's under the impression that he is better than the rest of them. There is no reason that his last fight should have looked like that. Okay, and he has Bomac in his corner. He is convinced that he is tougher, he is rougher, he is more skilled, more athletic, and he's the best one out of all of them. And you know what that means? That means that you have to convince him that he's not. That's the problem with guys like Ryan Garcia, guys like Gervonta Tank Davis, because when you're in the ring with them, you can actually be better than them, but you got to convince them that you are. And that, I swear to you, that is very difficult, especially that means that you got a guy like Keyshawn, you hit him with a bus and you think he should stay down, but he thought that you threw a pebble and he stayed on his feet. He didn't even get rocked because of how boxing is so mental. This guy is really convinced that he can beat Gervonta, that he's better than the rest of them. So yes, I think you're absolutely right. That is like an extra superpower. That's going to make him extra difficult to beat. Keyshawn Davis not only good.
People don't realize the power of belief, but I don't mean regular belief. I mean like supernatural belief. Like when Conor McGregor was running through that run in UFC, dude, there was like magic involved in there. It was sort of like, should he be able to knock out Jose Aldo with 1 punch in 13 seconds? No, but he freaking did it. It matters. All right. Thank you for your time, by the way. You've been very generous.
This was a fantastic conversation. I could talk all day.
This is what I'm all about. You do regularly what I consider to be the hardest job in this industry. And I've done almost all of them, podcasting, writing, broadcasting, from play-by-play to host to whatever. But like the solo radio bit, the solo, especially when you're doing a live stream during, of a fight card, it's even more aggressive. So I give you that credit. What are you looking to be in this business? Because if you said, hey, BC, love your work, but like, what's your end game? It's always going to be, I want to be in the vein of Larry Merchant, Max Kellerman, and Al Bernstein. I want to be that color commentator who just loves the game so much that calling fights is a drug that they can't cure you of. Okay. Mm-hmm. What about for you? What do you want to be in this game?
I want to be an energy that everybody remembers when it comes to the state of boxing. And it could have been in me. And that's why I talked about video games. I talked about boxing cards and merchandise. I talk about even gambling on the fights. I'm talking about everything that can impact the sport, even being a boxing personality, making boxing songs. I even had a boxing cartoon that I put together, anything to help build the sport and help add to it being the #1 sport in the world again. I just want to, when I'm done with this game, I want people to be like, remember ShowBizz? The energy that he brought to it. That's it. That's it. Just the energy. And I don't want that energy to leave when I leave the game. I wanted to be there and that excitement to stay there. And if that means some influence that other people say, this is how you bring energy to the sport because of what ShowBizz has done, that would be music to my ears. I just want to be an energy that impacts the sport permanently to make it the #1 sport in the world again, like it was.
Well, I got to give you one last bit of flowers. I love that you're doing it your own way, creative and unique, but that's about the game at the end of the day. It's about bringing in fans. It's about celebrating the most absurd, beautiful, broken, gross, ridiculous, maybe not broken anymore sport that there actually is. And that's Uncle Turkey's boxing. So ShowBizz, where can people that aren't already finding you, where can they find your great work?
You know, on YouTube, ShowBizz The Adult, Bizz The Adult on X, and ShowBizz_the_adult on Instagram. I think TikTok is done, but that's where you can find me.
Unless Mr. Beast can save it. Will you be doing more fight companions on DAZN?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to be doing more interviews too. But what I want to do when I want to break to DAZN, when I'm doing those fights and I'm doing my color commentary, I do want to just add some people by my side to talk to the people. You know, anyone, if you're around, sit down for a minute, talk to any fighter, sit down for a minute, talk to the people, because I just want to bring a damn party to boxing. I want to bring a party to boxing and have it reflect the sport and my living room when I was watching the sport when I was a little guy.
Hey, what a time to be alive, right? I mean, this is great. This is good living, right? This is a good time. This is great. All right. ShowBizz The Adult, thank you for your time. Great chatting with you. I encourage everyone to check out your work, and damn, buckle up. 2025 is going to be some serious business in this sport, and I love it.